Yeah, we've got a few people here today, Oliver. Hey, I will go ahead and get started with some opening comments. So bonjour and welcome everyone. My name is Linda Witt. I'm the president of the Fédération des Alliances Françaises USA, coming to you today from Portland, Oregon. We are expecting several hundred people at this session, so I'm going to make a few opening comments just a little bit slowly, so as to give everyone time to get into the session and to get settled. I'd like to introduce our National Programs Administrator, Melissa Sora. Melissa, why don't you say hi?
Bonjour tout le monde.
Thank you. So Melissa is managing this Zoom session from her office in Washington, D.C. area. And then in today's audience, I'd like to acknowledge that we have Alliance Française members, of course, we have AATF members, and we have special invited guests of Oliver himself. A quick count shows that we have registrants from over 100 Alliance Française and AATF chapters, as well as friends from Australia and Canada. So welcome to all of you. In just a moment, Oliver will start his presentation. I just have two other quick slides to go through. Melissa, if you'll go to the next slide, that would be great. So this session today is part of a series that we have coming, and we have several sessions coming up soon that I wanted to show and share with you. Next Friday, we have a session in partnership with Pandemonium U on the Le Pen family. And then the following week we have, or actually on the 20th, we have a Voyage en Francophonie in partnership with the Lycée Français de New York. And then after that, we have a session with Susan Herman Loomis, who is originally from the Pacific Northwest, but who has lived for many years in France. And she'll talk about her new cookbook. And then we have another Pandemonium U session with going back in history to World War II. And finally, we have coming up soon, a discussion about the Olympic Games from one of the world-renowned experts in the field and in the history of the Olympics. And I should point out that all of these sessions will be in English, except for the last one about the Olympic Games. So you can find out more about these upcoming events by checking with your local chapter or by visiting afusa.org. Next slide, please. We are requesting that everybody stay on mute during the presentation. You can use the chat feature, and we encourage you to do so, to submit questions, because Oliver will be looking at that throughout and picking a few to talk about. You want to remain on the speaker view so that you can see his slides. You can, on your end, from your computer, you can resize the images if you'd like to. In the event that you get booted out of the session or that we get booted out of the session, then just wait a few seconds and attempt to log back in using the original link, of course. And then this session is being recorded because we put our sessions up on YouTube for people to enjoy who weren't able to make it to the meeting. If you're uncomfortable with being in a recorded session, then this is probably a good time for you to leave. And then after I do the introduction of Oliver, which will be on the very next slide, our runtime will be about an hour, and that includes some time specifically for questions and answers at the end. Next slide, Melissa. Thank you. So it's my great honor to introduce Oliver G. Oliver is the founder and host of the wildly popular podcast, The Earful Tower. His podcast has been recognized by the New York Times as one of the best travel podcasts in the world. He has over 70,000 downloads per month. Originally from Australia, Oliver lived in Sweden for a few years and moved to Paris in 2015. He published his memoir, Paris on Air, last year. I have my earmarked copy here, and I strongly recommend it to all Francophiles and to any person who would like to better understand Paris and the French. More recently, Oliver and his wife, Lena, have also published a children's book, Kylie the Crocodile, set of course in Paris. So without further ado, please take it away, Oliver.
Wow, what an introduction, Linda. It can only go downhill from such an introduction, but thank you very much for all those kind words. And thank you for having me as well. So shall I just take over now? Yes, next 45, 30 minutes? Okay, great. Well, hello everybody, and nice to see you and probably meet some of you for the first time. Everything that Linda said was true. And I'm going to share some secrets with you that I've picked up over the past couple of years in Paris, in the hopes of making you guys think that I'm the kind of man with the keys to all the Paris secrets, and it'll make you want to listen to my podcast, I hope. But before we get into the secrets, just a little thing out of my own curiosity. I'm going to click through and look at everyone with a video on, just so I know if I'm talking to people who know about me or not. If you have a very good idea of who I am and what I do, can you just wave like kind of crazy for a second so I can see? Okay. Oh, there's some really crazy waving going on there. Okay. Oh, cool. Hello, everybody. Wonderful. Okay. And I'm literally clicking through. Okay. Wow. Okay. That was cool. And now can you wave even maybe with the similar enthusiasm if you have no idea who I am whatsoever? It's weird to wave with enthusiasm if you don't know. Okay. That's cool. Some of you as well. Good. Okay. Well, hello to you guys. Nice to meet you for the first time. I'll just add to that little introduction though. Oh no, I'm going to keep an eye on the clock too. I'll add to that introduction just so you know what you're in for, I suspect, is every week I do a podcast episode about Paris. I interview interesting people, the kind of people who, I like to say the kind of characters who make the City of Lights shine. From, it could be a tour guide, it could be one of the mayors, it could be an ambassador, it could be a gardener, just someone interesting. And that's my job. It's my job to do that. I make books on the side, and that's pretty much it. I've been doing it for a couple of years, about 3 years now. And if for the people who don't know me, a good way to sort of understand the kind of guy I am is I'm the kind of guy who would slip into a courtyard when the front door opens to investigate what's inside, not in a thieving way, but in a sort of a gentle exploratory way. To see what's in there. And through doing that, I've found a lot of secrets that a lot of even Parisians don't know about. And I think it was in August I was here in this same group sharing 5 of my secrets. And then Linda was kind enough to invite me back for 5 more secrets. I wondered, do I have them? And it turns out I think I do. And on that note, I'm going to get into them. Part of what I do in daily life, as well as I do videos, live videos on YouTube. So I'm very comfortable looking at the comments as they come in. So if you have a question, or if you you can't understand what I'm saying or something like that, put it there. I'll read it. But with 15 minutes to go, I'll totally switch it over to you guys for Q&A. Last point before I begin. I'm so glad I remembered. Every single thing that I say today, every address, every photo that you're going to see, everything, I've gathered it together, put it on a web page that I made specifically for you guys. And the point of doing that is twofold. One is because in my experience, you guys might hear something that you want to see and you'll be questioning, or you'll be jotting it down with paper and pen. I've saved you the trouble. I've got links, everything. And the second part of the twofold is at the bottom of that web page, I put links so you can check out my books if you're interested. Shall we get going? I think we should. 5 secrets with about 15 pictures. We got a lot to get through, and the time on my computer is like 10 minutes ahead, so I've got to keep in mind all this while doing maths at the same time. And my interviews are all in English. Everything I do is in English, but because you guys are the Alliance Françaises, I'll throw in a smattering of French in this presentation just to keep it on topic, right? Okay, here we go. Secrets. Time for some secrets. Oh yeah, and as I go through, I'm going to get you guys to wave your hand. I think a lot of Zooms at the moment can be pretty boring. So I'm going to try and make this interactive by, if you've done the secret, I want you to wave. It's kind of, it would be like the equivalent of applause if we were in a real room, and it shows you as being one of the experts. And if anyone has done all 5 of these secrets, I'm going to get you some kind of prize. Also, if you've done all 5 of the secrets, I don't know, maybe you guys should be the podcasters and not me. Let's get into it. First thing, the first secret I want to talk about is something that I picked because it's quite relevant given the fact that I'm talking to the Alliance Française in the USA, and it's tied to America, actually. It is a Statue of Liberty that is in Paris. And I'd like to start off with the first slide so you guys can see what I'm talking about, just to begin with. Okay, Melissa shared the first slide. Judy Solanke is already waving. Just a second, Judy, let me get to it. This is a special Statue of Liberty because it was gifted to France from the Americans, much like it was the French who gifted your famous Statue of Liberty to you guys. And this one stands at the end of a beautiful island called the Île aux Cygnes, the island of the swans, right near the Eiffel Tower. And it's pretty enormous, not anywhere near as big as the one in New York, but surprisingly big. And I think there are a lot of people who don't know about it. But before we go any further, just for me to know, if you know of this, can you wave to me? Okay, a lot of people waving at my secret. Okay, maybe half of you. Okay, well, good, because I suspected a lot of you would know that, and I'm about to take this to the next level. The truth is there isn't just one Statue of Liberty in Paris, there are many more. In fact, if you were to Google it right now, how many Statue of Liberties are in Paris, you would find that a lot of bloggers have noticed that there's another one in the Jardin de Luxembourg, the Luxembourg Gardens. There's another one out front of the Arts et Métiers Museum. In fact, there's one inside that museum, and there are more. So when people, if you were to Google around, you'd see that there are up to 5, right? 5 Statue of Liberties in Paris. And guiltily, I can say, guilty with a guilty conscience, I was one of those bloggers that wrote one of those lists several years ago. But one of the beauties of this job that I do is that I explore Paris. As I said, there are tens of thousands of people listening who will always correct me if I'm wrong. And in the past few years, I've found that there aren't actually 5 Statue of Liberties. Can we have the next slide, please? There are 8 Statue of Liberties around Paris. 8. And the reason I know that none of you guys know this, although maybe some of you do, is because out of all the websites on the internet, none dare to go as high as 8 because no one else has found all these other ones. But there's one that I want to specifically focus on today, which is going to be my first secret. Could we have the next slide, please? Now I'm seeing some confused faces from you guys who were so confident on that first Statue of Liberty. This statue is in the 6th arrondissement, and it was made by a sculptor called César, like Caesar. And he's done a bunch of sculptures all over Paris. This one on a very typically Haussmannian street is a centaur. And when you look at it from the same distance that we're standing there, you'd think that's a pretty unusual centaur. It doesn't look anything like the Statue of Liberty. But if we had the power to zoom in, and we do, thanks to Melissa, if you could go to the next slide, emerging from the chest of this centaur is a Statue of Liberty. In fact, it's the smallest in Paris, probably the smallest in France, but it's there. Why is it there? I have no idea, but it makes for an interesting addition to the Paris landscape, even if it is only about an inch in size. But that's my first secret. There are, I mean, technically that little one is the secret, but the big secret is that there are 8. Out of interest, how many knew there were 8 Statue of Liberties? Please wave to me. Who's seen, how about let's do it this way. Who's seen that little statue? No one. Anyone? Write in the comments if, okay, I've already won this. Does that mean no one's going to get all 5 statues? This is great. This is a success. Okay, so that's the 8 Statue of Liberties. Because I'm talking faster than I thought, I'll give you a hint on where the other ones are, but they're all in the blog post I'll share with you at the end. The other one that I'd missed previously was at, it was on a peniche right by the Eiffel Tower, and it's sort of, I think it's a private only, you know, it's not like a huge one. And then another one is in someone's lobby, and a guy that contacted me. In fact, if you guys watch my last talk for Alliance Françaises here, I actually, it was the same courier, a British courier, who delivers mail around Paris, knows everything in the city. It was him who told me about the bank vault that we talked about in the first event. Some of you are nodding, maybe you remember it, the amazing bank at the Société Générale, one of my first secrets. It was him who delivered a package to this house in the 8th arrondissement near the Arc de Triomphe, and he messaged me straight away, oh my God, there's a big Statue of Liberty for some reason in their lobby. And then I heard the last one that I'll tell you about, that there was one at the Novotel Hotel really close to the big one that we started with. And I went there today knowing I'd talk with all you guys tonight. I went there today to check up on it. I'd heard that there was an Eiffel Tower, a Statue of Liberty on their terrace. So due diligence there, I went and checked it out. I went in, talked to the reception. Bonjour, I said. I told you there'd be some French. I said, is it true that there's a Statue of Liberty somewhere in this hotel? And she looked crestfallen. And she said 1 year ago there was, she said, but tourists who were like clambering on it to take pictures with it, knocked it down and smashed it to smithereens. And I said, where is it now? She said, it's long gone. We don't have it anymore. So there were 9, but now there are only 8. You heard it here first. There you go. That's our first secret. 8 Statue of Liberty, including one that's this big. I'm just going to have a sip of water before we get to the second one. How did you find that? Asked Linda. Hey, Linda. I suppose you're talking about the little one. I don't know. I think someone contacted me, which is something like one of the beautiful things about this podcast as it keeps growing is, especially on Instagram and Facebook, where people are really interactive, is when I'll share something, people will often send me a message and say, hey, I've got something you might like to see. For example, I'm particularly obsessed with those cupoles, they're called, the domed roof sort of ceilings, or especially around the 16th arrondissement. And I took a bunch of pictures and shared them in an Instagram story recently. I said, I'd really love to get inside one of them. And a lady messaged me, I think she was American actually, and she said, hey, I live inside one. You want to come check it out? Be my guest. So I'll be doing that soon. But hey, look, that's my job, and that's how I find things out. I don't know. Okay, I'll get back into the questions next because I want to get on to the second secret. It's 1:15. Okay, we're doing all right. Oh no, says Kelly, I've stayed at that Novotel and seen that statue. Kelly, if you've got pictures, you have to send it to me right now because I want to know how big that was and where it was exactly, but I guess it doesn't exist anymore. And to answer another question that got sent through, where do I live in the 7th arrondissement as of 1 week ago? But that's something I haven't even really talked about yet on the podcast, so we'll get to that another time. Secret two. If you guys who have been following my work before, you probably have heard me talk about this one. In fact, you might even know this secret, but saying no one knew the last one, I think I'll get away with it. To understand this secret, you need to understand something about me and Paris, and it's that I got a weird way of getting like obsessed with sort of parts of Paris. So, for example, about a year or two ago, my weird obsession that I sort of went too far, went a little bit too far with were chasseroux, which is they're like, if you look at a grand old entrance to a Paris building, you'll see that sometimes on the left and right hand side they'll have these. Can you hear me all right? Everything all right? Yep.
Actually, Oliver, you froze for just a moment and your image is just a teeny bit blurry now, but keep on going because your image did catch up with your audio.
Okay, so I said I was obsessed with things, and one of them is these chasserouges, which is like they protect the doorways from the wheels of the horse and carriages from crashing into the door. And as you go around France, whenever you see a big old stately door, you'll see these chasserouges on the side, and the more fantastic they are often signifies the more fantastic the building that was on the other side of the door. But those kind of things I get obsessed by. And my more recent obsession that's almost plagued me for a few years is the Philippe Auguste wall. And I know that you guys who know my stuff will already know where I'm going with this, perhaps. But the Philippe Auguste wall is a little history lesson here. 800 years ago, there was a massive wall that surrounded Paris. They started building it in 1190. And the thing that was really interesting about it is that it didn't get torn down, or it didn't remain in perfect condition either. Similar to, like some of the beautiful cities around France that have these big walls around it, like Saint-Malo or Carcassonne, for example, these beautiful, where you can walk along the ramparts. They're fantastic. Sometimes the wall gets totally dismantled. You never see it again. That's kind of boring as far as I'm concerned. But the most interesting is when the city swallows up the wall. And that's what happened with this one. The city outgrew it, right? There was just too many people and it grew out. And rather than ripping it all down, they built on it. And that's what I mean by swallowed it up. And this particular wall, I've sort of weirdly made it my mission to trace the whole wall and find all the remnants, which means sneaking into a lot of courtyards, which means sometimes climbing over fences, going into basements, all this kind of stuff, going through all the parks. I walked the whole wall, and I've done some recent episodes about it. But this secret that I'm going to share with you now is one that I didn't really talk about on the show so much, and It's accessible, but quite private and very cool. What it is a part of the wall is in a car park. And it's on the car park in I guess it's the 5th, it could be the 6th arrondissement, but the street is Rue Mazarine. And if you go to it's just a totally normal looking car park. The only way to get down to it is either to park a car down there, so you have a ticket, or to walk down the ramp, which is what I did the other day, knowing that the wall was down there. And if we show the first slide, what you're about to see here is 800-year-old stones. Now this picture is just to sort of whet your appetite for where we are. The whole sort of middle of this car park is built with this fantastically well-preserved 800-year-old wall. And in this picture, you can kind of see like just how well preserved it is. It's incredible to me. Like there are hardly any chunks of the wall that are this big. There are little bits of towers here and there. But this piece is particularly in good condition. And I was down there looking at it thinking, oh my God, this wall is ancient. You know, I'm from Australia. A lot of you guys are from the States, I assume. So you know that there aren't 800-year-old walls anywhere, really. But what really got me about this one is at the back of the picture. In fact, maybe Melissa, you can hover your cursor at the back on the right-hand side. That bit of the wall caught my attention because it was jutting away from the very straight wall. And so I walked over there, and if we get to the next slide, this was a new discovery for me here, because I'd seen this wall years ago, and I talked about that on my podcast, but this was really cool. If you look, you can see that the wall is curving in a sort of circular, well, conical shape there. And that indicates two things. First, it indicates that it was a tower. There were 60 or 70 of these towers all around the wall 800 years ago, and only about 6 of them remain in any form. This one's in exceptionally good form, but the other part that's particularly interesting is for the first time 2 weeks ago, I noticed on the left-hand side of this picture, if you look at Melissa's cursor, there's a little window down there. So already we're at a Paris secret, but I was looking at that window, I was like, why is there a window to the wall? And for the first time, I kept going like a car. I walked down the ramps, even though it says you're not allowed to. I kept going, and I got downstairs where I saw the next slide, and there, okay, it's like a museum. It's like a private museum down there. They've put this sort of perspex or glass wall or window in front of the wall, so you can go and look at it like it's the Louvre or something. By the way, if you guys have been to the Louvre, this is the same sort of structure that's in the very bottom floor of the Louvre. The fortifications of the Philip August Wall, that was where the fortress was. But it's the same stone, same concept, same guy, same king. And this bit, it's like a museum that's free to sneak into anyway. And you see the car in the foreground, looks like it's been sitting there for 800 years itself. And I was just down there feeling like I had this cool museum to myself. And I guess the car park 800-year-old wall is secret number 2. And now you've all seen it too. I'm interested, by a show of hands, who's been 2 floors down in that car park and seen that part of the wall? Anyone? I'm clicking through. No one. A few people sort of smiling, a few people shaking their heads. I don't know if that means it's a bad secret or a good secret, but hey, I think it was pretty cool. Lane says the Louvre was actually outside the Philip August Wall. Exactly right. It was the fortress that we can see the remnants of at the bottom, and that's like exceptionally well preserved compared to the rest of the wall. But in terms of the wall, on the link that I'm going to share with you at the end, I've linked off to all the stuff I've done on it. So if you ever want to do, in fact, I'll tell you guys this, if I could leave my mark on Paris in any way at the moment, the way I'd like to do it would be for them to put sort of markers on the roads and courtyards and parks of where the wall used to run, so that tourists, because I think tourists should be interested in this just as much as anything else in the city. I think it's, I'm getting too excited just thinking about it. But I think that they should put something like that to indicate where it was, and people should walk around all the time, because I just think it's one of the most fascinating stories in this city. Robin's never been to Paris. Gee, well, Robin, you need to rectify that as soon as it's possible. And I'm gonna preempt, or I'm gonna guess one of the first questions from the Q&A. When can Americans come to Paris? I don't know. Nobody asked me. I don't know. I can only disappoint you with my knowledge of it. How did you know where to find it? Archaeology talk. Oh, Nancy, talking to Nancy. Okay, that's not even for me. Okay, let's get on to the next secret. We're on 2 out of 5 I've so far stumped everyone and we're only 25 minutes in. That's a good sign. Now, I have a sip of water before we get to the next one. Any questions that I missed? Oh, Carrie emailed me a picture of Liberty at Novotel. That's incredible. I'm going to look on my phone. Everybody have a sip of water. I'm checking my emails. Does that mean, Carrie, that you took a photo while you were there? Oh my gosh. There you go. The ninth Statue of Liberty that doesn't exist. It's not that tall. So I assume I don't know. I guess someone hung onto Liberty's shoulders. But thanks very much for sending that over. See, this is what I like about my job. Imagine this is my job every day. I'll be talking about something and someone will send me in something cool and then I'll learn more. How lucky I am. Thanks, Kerry. Brilliant. Now, let's continue. Third secret. Now, this one's a bit more tangible. This is probably the most tangible secret that everybody can check out. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if people had been there. And just so you all know, by the way, I'm constantly clicking through, watching you guys, watching me. So if you find anything particularly funny, I always say this, but laugh in an exaggerated style because it makes me feel like we're all in the same room. Stacey, you're doing it there with the forest behind you. I love it. Yeah. So it might sound weird, but it's a nice little way that we can interact, even though we can't in real life. So I can't even see myself. I can see a whole different bunch of you now, but we're going to go on to the third, more tangible secret. And this one's in the 7th arrondissement where I'm currently living. And I think when you say 7th arrondissement, I'm not sure how well you guys all know Paris, but it's where the Eiffel Tower is. It's where the Invalides is. Audrey's nodding there. She knows the 7th arrondissement. There you go. There are a lot of big famous parks, and one of them would be the Champ de Mars, the big park right behind the Eiffel Tower. And I think that's beautiful there. I was walking there today. But in terms of secrets, there's nothing secret about it. If you want a secret park, you'd have to do what I did the other day and walk over to the eastern edge of the 7th arrondissement near that big, beautiful Lutèce Hotel, 5-star hotel right on the corner there, absolutely stunning, which you should all go in for a drink if you can afford it, because I can imagine it's not cheap. But I was walking there the other day, and if we get the next slide up, let's see if we get that next slide up. There you go. So this is just to set the scene of where I was walking, and beautiful Haussmannian street view there. I just took that picture off Google Street View, but this is quite a busy road. You can see the cars going past, and there was this little alleyway down there that caught my attention and intrigued me. And so, as I said from the beginning of this talk, I'm the kind of guy that will walk down any alleyway, and I did that exact thing here, and I got to just a stunning little garden at the end of it. And before we show you the pictures of it, it's extremely hard to catch a picture of this park because it's kind of layered. It's so small, but it's layered in a way that doesn't matter where you stand. Like you could probably have 30 people in there and not see each other at all, even though it's the size of a tiny little Paris park. And I love that about it. And if we go to the next picture, I'll give you a glimpse into what it looks like. This park is called, I believe it's the Roger Stéphane, I believe. I've got it written down. I can't remember the name, but I remember what it looks like. It looks like this. And this picture captures that there's a Haussmannian building on one side, which is really beautiful. It captures that there's a lot of flowers in there. But the next picture, I think, gives you more of a, if we can go to the next one as well, give you more of an idea of just how sort of layered and beautiful it is. And I'm no horticulturalist expert, but if you go there in the spring and the summer, you will see Japanese lilacs. You'll see periwinkles. You'll see heather. You'll see all sorts of things. There's bamboo in there. It's just this beautiful collection in this little hidden residential garden. You can kind of see in that picture that there are sort of walls and levels to it. Perfect for a little romantic, illicit love affair, perhaps. I don't know. Perfect place to escape the noise of the city. And the perfect place to just get away from the beating pulse of Paris for 15 minutes or so when you're in the 7th arrondissement. So there's a real tangible one that you guys can all visit. Who's been in that park? out of interest. Who can wave to me for that one? No, surely someone. This is great. And then someone's spelling the Lutece Hotel with an accent grave on the first D.
Oh, wait, Oliver, you did have one wave. Jennifer and Harold, they have seen that park.
Jennifer and Harold, was it? Well, you've got me there. I knew there'd be someone. The square is called the square Roger Stefan, in fact, like Roger Stefan. But I must say that all the spelling is in the link that I'll share with you in 15 minutes, because otherwise I'd just be spelling everything all day. Roger Stefan, but just really beautiful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there again. It's a bit wintry at the moment, so it's not as beautiful as it'll be in the spring, but I'm going to go in there with a camera. And even though it's tiny, especially tiny by American or Australian standards, but it's even tiny by French standards or Paris standards, I'm going to go in there and do a live walk and show, through the bamboo, up and down, all the benches, like the arches with the vines hanging over it. It's like a little secret garden. And I'm going to show everybody around there. So if you haven't already followed me on social media and stuff, so that's the call to action that you should rectify immediately. Judy is laughing because I know Judy surely follows on all social media. All right, let's get on to the next one. Nancy's been there right near Sèvres Babylon, exactly right, just off Rue Babylon, I believe, near the Coutume Cafe. Now, checking the time, 2 more secrets. Let's get on to the next one. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, this one, I think there may be someone who, by the way, I'm seeing that people have raised their hands. We'll do the questions like that at the end, if that's why you're raising your hand. But for now, secret number 4, this comes with a story. And the reason I wanted to put in a story is because I think it's a good story, but also because part of the reason I'm here is to encourage new followers to think that my book will be good. And this is a story that comes with the book. And I think it's a good one. So I'm going to share it. And it leads to our next secret. So when I moved into my house in this is the book, by the way, Paris on it. When I moved into Montmartre 2 years ago, and here comes the fun bit. The landlord lady, she was young. It sounds weird to call a landlady to someone so young. Landlord feels like an old person. I don't know why, but anyway, she was about my age, and she said, "Listen, with your rental apartment, there is a cave, a cellar, and as it currently stands, the bar that's on the ground floor uses the cellar to store their beer." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "You have 2 choices." She said, "You can clear them out and use it as a cellar to store your belongings, or you can allow them to store their beer down there, and in return, they'll give you free drinks for life." And I said, "Well, that was a very easy choice. I would like the free drinks for life. Thank you very much." And so I moved in 2 years ago, and this awesome little bar downstairs treated us like royalty because, the Parisian prices to get storage is insane. So they were getting a great deal as well, I suspect. But when we went in there, and I'm not going to give away this part of the book, but they treated us like royalty and made our welcome to Montmartre extremely special. They opened all sorts of doors for us, and that's how chapter 9 begins. But it was the same bartender who was a real character. He one day we were sitting in the bar soon after, and we said, "Look, can you tell us some of the places in Montmartre to go and check out that might be a little bit off the tourist trail?" Because we were new there, we didn't know anything. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to tell you my favorite place to go for a drink, but you can't tell anyone." So here I am telling all you guys about this excellent place to go for a drink in Montmartre, or indeed a snack or just a look. So before we get to the first slide, I'll describe how he told it to me. He said, there is a hidden hotel, and not French hotel like Hôtel Particulier, whatever, hotel, when they just mean a big old building. But this is a real hotel. And he said, you need to go to a buzzer just off Avenue Junot, which if you guys who have listened to my show before, when I was interviewing the mayor of Montmartre, he said it was his favorite street, Avenue Junot. And that I didn't put on my article, so I share it with you there for free. Avenue Junot. And Paula says, note to self, don't tell Oliver your secrets. Do you want me to stop, Paula? No. So He said you go up just off Avenue Junot and there's a digicode and a big sort of imposing gate. He said go to the gate, act like you own the place, ring the buzzer for the hotel and make it sound like you have business there even if you don't. And that's exactly what we did. And since then, I've done that a bunch of times. Even I used to give tours when I was still sort of starting out. I'd show people this place because it was so magnificent. You go up, you ring the digicode. I don't know if you guys speak French, but surely you speak enough to either say bonjour, c'est juste pour regarder, s'il vous plaît, or bonjour, je vais prendre un verre, s'il vous plaît. I'm going to take a drink. Or whatever. I have a room with you guys, whatever you want to say. Hopefully they'll let you in. The gate opens and you walk through this super old cobblestoned pathway, and then you turn left for the hotel. But if you don't turn left, you continue straight on and you get a view of Paris over the rooftops. But if you turn left, you'll see this boutique hotel, which looks something like this. Melissa, for the next slide. Here we go. Yes, it is called the hotel. In English, you'd say Hotel Particular. In French, Hôtel Particulier. And you walk in, this is a photo from a lovely summer's day. You walk in and it is dead quiet in there. It often looks like this with no people out there. I don't understand why. I don't think they want, I think they're interested in getting sort of maybe wealthy clientele to stay in the hotels. I heard Brad and Angelina stayed in one of the 6 or 7 rooms in the hotel, but I think that's who they want. They don't want youngsters, young ragamuffins like me going in there and snooping around. But that's what I did when I lived in the area. And I can particularly recommend that if you go there, you go in for a brunch or something on that lower floor. But if you make it in, you have to go downstairs because they got a wonderful bar that looks like this. Next slide, please. There you go. It's like, I mean, it's not a very Parisian bar really, but it's kind of cozy and beautiful. And if you go through the door to the right, you'll see the next slide, which is kind of in a, I guess you call it an atrium, very outdoorsy, very nice, very beautiful, not very expensive, but not your typical, you know, bistro price. Like if you get a coffee, it's going to be more like 6 or 8 euros rather than 4 or 5, like it would be everywhere else, or 1 or 2 if you go for the little espresso on the bistro corner. But a really lovely place that I highly recommend. I recommend everybody goes here, including family and friends. Like I'm not just telling you guys because I'm trying to make you see a cool bar. This place is cool. I've never stayed in the rooms. Could be awful. So don't take my tip on that. But next time you're in Montmartre, go and check out that one. Which brings us to the fifth. What did I do with my paper? There you go. Okay, fifth. I was just trying to remind myself what my fifth secret is. Okay, because I didn't want Melissa to do the slide before I was ready in case I forgot what it is. We're on our 5th slide now. Oh, perfect timing. This is going really well. I'll reward myself with a gin and tonic. Oh no, water. Water. Okay, here we go. The last secret. And this is the least tangible of them all. This is more... I guess you'd call it more of a warning than a secret, but it's something that I've learned from my time in Paris that I want to share because I think it's a very good story. Barbara Young sharing the links. Barbara, all the links are coming. Barbara, trust me. Trust me, guys. I've got you covered. The secret / the warning that is coming is, and this is true, there are monstrous animals swimming in the Paris waterways. And I think you're probably smirking, seeing where I'm going with this, but I've got more to this. This isn't some shameless plug. There's a cool story coming. When I was staying in the 7th during the summer, which, just a brief pause on this was one of the most interesting times of Paris that I've ever seen during the deconfinement. So Paris was just totally empty. And I was living next to the Eiffel Tower. So I was seeing the rabbits running around the Champ de Mars, for example. I was seeing just being the most touristy part of like the world empty. It's an amazing story for the next book. But one thing I saw there that I'm going to share with you, and it's not a crocodile for you guys trying to guess, is, but it might be soon, is I was walking along towards that first Statue of Liberty that I shared. So if you were to go down if you look at the Eiffel Tower with the Seine behind you and then turn around and go down the steps and head left, that's one of the best walks you can do in Paris. Everyone who visits the Eiffel Tower misses it because there's never anyone down there. You should absolutely do it. Anyway, I was walking down there and there was a commotion in the ocean, or at least in the Seine, and I was trying to figure out why everyone was gathered around there. And as I approached and sort of nudged my way to the front, as I often do for these kind of things, I saw a fisherman in the battle of his life with something. And I was thinking, what could be in there that is this big in the Seine? I don't believe there's anything this big. And he was struggling, and then he couldn't get it with his fishing rod, and he climbed down one of those ladders to reel in whatever he'd caught. And this is the kind of story that when people tell you, you'll be like, yeah, there's a big fish or something coming. But I took pictures to show you. So not just yet, Melissa, not just yet, but what I saw, this moment, which being there was just incredible. He climbs down the ladder, grabs whatever's causing this splashing down below the water surface by the mouth and starts pulling it out of the water. And in this picture that you're about to see, I was standing there with my camera watching, wondering what he's about to pull up, with the Eiffel Tower right behind in the background, a crowd, a gaggle of Parisians wondering what was going to happen. And I took this picture as he pulled just the head of this creature out. Here comes the first picture. Okay, so as you can see, first, maybe you noticed the Eiffel Tower in the background there with that beautiful boat in the front. There it is with the cursor from Melissa. But secondly, this fish head that you can see here, the bit that's out of the water is got to be at least as long as that man's arm, right? At least as long as his arm. And he's standing there struggling to pull this fish out. And I'm thinking, how big is it underneath the water? And he couldn't get it. And so there was this, one of his mates or whatever had like I don't know what you call it, like a harness, and jumped down. They got the fish in the harness, and the two of them put it up on the land. And I took a picture of that as well, if we can go to the next picture. So that is a catfish. I think it's also maybe sturgeon's the word. In French, the word is silure. And before anyone gets worried, he let it go again. But I was amazed that this was swimming in the Seine. And I said to the guy, first I said, are you going to eat it? So I started talking to him. He goes, I'm not going to eat it. These make for terrible fishing. He said, in fact, they're a bit of a curse. They eat like he said they eat the ducklings and stuff that swim around. They eat other sort of water life. And I said, but that's got to be the biggest fish you've ever caught. He said, no, the biggest that I've caught is 2.1 meters, which I looked up for you Americans. It's 6'11.5". But to make it easier for you how big that fish is, I made a graphic for you guys featuring a famous American by the name of Shaquille O'Neal. Next slide, please, Melissa. There you go. That gives you a bit of an idea how big some of the fish swimming in the Seine are. But I would be crazy to not finish this Monsters of the Deep with another story. I'd be crazy not to do it. And I think we have time before we go to the Q&A. We have 2 minutes. My favorite story, and I think a lot of you guys know this already, my favorite story from the podcast ever was I was doing a story about the water life in the Canal Saint-Martin. And I thought that there was a beaver living there. I'm cutting this story short. It deserves more, if you ask me. An elderly woman was sitting on a bench. I sat next to her. I asked her if she believed there were big animals swimming in the canal, animals like beavers. And she said, well, yes, I know there are crocodiles swimming in the canal because I released one. And I said, what do you mean you released the crocodile in the Canal Saint-Martin? And she told me this incredible story that I had no choice but to believe. It was just an incredible story of a crocodile that she'd bought as a pet or whatever, and it got too big for her apartment, and she released it. And I had all these questions. You can hear it on the podcast. But how? What happened? What? And she had an answer for everything. And the thing that frightened me is that she said the crocodile was like this big, but this was like 3 years ago. And it got me thinking, if that crocodile was alive today, it would be enormous. And it would make for an excellent story. So what did I do? I teamed up with my illustrator wife and made it into a story, a book called Kai the Crocodile. It's a children's book. And is it any good? Shakespeare and Company shared it today on their social media and called it charming and gorgeous. So you be the judge of that. But I've got a picture from it that I want to show you. It's a picture of the woman sneaking down to the canal in the middle of the night and releasing it. That's my wife that drew that. And the text is all rhyming. and beautiful, I think. And we can go to one more slide, which is showing the crocodile growing too big for the apartment. And just to give you a taste of the book, look, there's some text there. Too big for the bathroom, too big for the hall. In each room she reached from the wall to the wall. The old lady figured this just couldn't be. There must be a place to set poor Kylie free. And that is the children's book that Lena, my wife, and I made together. And on that note, I'm going to share with you the link for everything I talked about and tell you how to buy my books. And before we get into the questions, I'm just going to let you know that on the page that I'm about to share, in fact, I'll share it as we're talking, at the bottom of this page is a link to buy the books. And for the next hour, and not a second later, I've put an exceptional deal for how to get them 10 euros cheaper if you buy them as a bundle. And we'll ship them to you from Seattle. So if you do want them, there's the link, all the addresses. Oh, someone was holding one up. Hold that one up again. That was so cool. I'll hold mine up too. Kylie the crocodile. There it is. It's a woman holding it up, but the name is Mike. So I don't know. Are you Mike? Anyhow, if you buy those two books, usually it's 50 euros, but I'll do it 40 euros postage included at the bottom of that link. It'd be my pleasure to send it to you. And that's why I was here to talk to you as well. But look, I'm here for questions now. If you want to ask me anything about Paris, all the things we talked about, all the books, or anything, I'll be looking at the comments. But I'm going to begin with reading these nice words. Such a great book, my 3-year-old's favorite from months now, says Lauren. It's a delightful book. My grandchildren love it. There you go. Love the book, says Leslie. Sweet, illustration charming. Oh, okay, you guys are so sweet. What about some questions? Put me on the spot, make me squirm. That's what I'm here for. It's not often I can talk to hundreds of people at once like this at the same time. I'd love to see what you have. Marsha says, best podcast anywhere. Everybody listen. That gives me, the link was too quick. Oh, goodness me, I'll put it there again. And I think Linda's going to share it out with you guys at the end. Is that right, Linda? Okay, so yes. I put it in the chat again. The link is there, Jim. But that's a private link. I'm not sharing that perfectly. And I'm being like honest here. The link at the bottom to get the two books as a bundle, it says Paris pickup. And that's the price I do it for people who come and get it from me in Paris because there's no postage. I'm doing it the same price for you guys as a thank you for listening. I think that's all right. But for an hour, after an hour, I'm switching it back. J'aimerais bien les acheter par la librairie ici de la France. C'est possible, says Lisa. It is possible in some bookshops, but I self-publish the books and it makes a huge difference if you get them from me. And we've got stock in Seattle, so it makes a huge difference to get it from me rather than other bookshops or from any of the big companies that just print on demand and send nothing to the authors. So if you want to help me out, get it from me. We've got stock. But let's see some questions. Fantastic talk, says Ruben. Thanks, Ruben. Linda says she ordered a bunch of the books for gifts and everyone loves them. Oh, Linda, that made my day. Any questions though? Nancy, I'm in Seattle. How can I get it here? Just order it on that link and we'll send it from Seattle. We'll send it in the mail. Oliver, great podcast with Raphael Métivier. Can you explain how you find these people to interview? So Jeff's talking about a recent podcast episode I did with a guy who takes pictures from the rooftops of Paris. And he snuck me onto the rooftops with him and we took pictures. And how I found him, I think I was following him on Instagram already, but I also think someone messaged me and said, I'd love to hear more from that guy. And so I messaged him on Instagram and he had 126,000 followers. So I put at the very start of my message, podcast request, in the hopes of catching his attention. And I did. And then within a week, we're up on the rooftops taking a picture. And it was wonderful. Thanks for the question, Jeff, and your long-time listenership and support. Anne has a question. How's the confinement been for you and your family? It was tough. It was a really strict confinement in Paris. I know it's different all over the world. So to just sum it up real briefly, we couldn't leave the house for 2 months unless it was to get groceries or go to the doctor or an hour of exercise. And I know Paris apartments are a lot smaller than American houses. So we were in like basically 2 rooms for 2 months. And it was tricky, but we tried to stay positive. You'll see if you guys follow a lot of Instagram accounts from Paris, you'll see a lot of them have turned really negative during this time because it was such a tough time. But me and my wife, we decided to just be positive, kind of like this talk, just put out positive energy and hopefully good things would come back from it. And we got down and got to work and made a children's book. And in fact, I was meant to be touring the US for this book at the time, but that got cancelled. And in fact, all my sponsorship for the podcast got cancelled too. So it was a pretty tough time, but thanks to the lovely Patreon support, you know, like in the old days, people became patrons of like artists and stuff. That's how I make a career and a living from the podcast. There's a link at the very bottom of that page. And I know a lot of patrons are here today. In fact, can you wave if you're a patron so I can say hello? There's a wave. There's another wave. Leslie, Josie, Judy. Oh, you guys are making it happen. Laura, Mary. Oh, so wonderful. So these guys are all waving and I'm clicking through. By kind of like Netflix, by subscribing. Thanks, guys. They literally make it happen. I would have given up an awful long time ago because how are you meant to make a career out of a podcast without kind people like all those names I said and more, including Jim Carmichael, who just joined from Australia, I think. G'day, Jim. All right, let's see some more questions. How soon can we fly to Paris? Oh, I'm not even going to answer that one. Will you do any walk? Sorry, Jan, I don't know. Genevieve, will you do walking tours once we can travel to Paris in the future? I kind of retired from walking tours. And I think tour guides are the ones that you should support, especially because they haven't been working for a year. But I do lots of virtual stuff. So maybe that's just as good. I kind of think the thing with walking tours is it takes a lot of time and energy. And I'd rather focus the time and energy on making books and stuff. Although, hey, Genevieve, I could be convinced. Why did you choose to live in the 7th arrondissement left bank, says Kate? Because I think it's fascinating. I think it's really interesting. And I always wanted to live on the left bank. We'd spent 6 years on the right bank. And the 7th is just cool. You're going to see it on the podcast in the coming days, weeks, months, and year, how interesting this place is. Looking forward to sharing it. Leslie, I loved your first book. I'm living the dream virtually through you and Lena. And big congrats on little G on the way. Thank you. There's a baby on the way in May. So I'm going to be a dad. So I'm pretty excited about that. But look, I guess that's a pretty personal story. We're here to talk about Paris. I will be sharing that kind of stuff a little bit, but focusing on Paris. But I'll tell you this. I haven't shared any stories about going through the sheer admin work that comes with having a baby in France. You guys wouldn't believe it as two foreigners and the hoops you have to jump through doing all this stuff, plus during a pandemic. It is an incredible collection of stories and we've learned a lot and I've been writing it all down and it'll be in the next book, which I have a really good title for. I'm not going to tell you because I'm afraid someone will steal it. Okay, lovely illustration, says Robin. Is the 1940s scene still there in Montmartre? Sorry. So Dorothy's referring to the movie set. No, that's long gone, but that's a good question. I have time to get into it, but it disappeared. The link again to order the book from you, says Hua. We'll email it out to you and I'll share it. Okay, I'll just keep sharing it. There it is. The link at the bottom, 40 euros. Do you have any plans to do any day trips from Paris, says Linda? Always. In fact, I shouldn't give it away, but I've got access to one of the most amazing day trips from Paris. I can't say anymore, but I've got a very cool event coming up. Enjoy that one when it comes out. The questions are coming too quickly. Leslie, you should mention that you don't have advertising on the podcast. That's just supported by Patreon members. Thanks, Leslie. Let me explain that briefly. When you listen to podcasts, they tend to begin with 5 minutes saying, buy this mattress or get this app. And it is so boring. Oh my God, I hate it. And instead of that, I don't do ads at all. I just mention, just like I'm doing right now, that people can sign up for $10 US a month, which is the price of a mango on Rue Claire, I found out. And when you do that, you get access to all kinds of bonus stuff. Like I do these kind of talks for Patreon members and loads more. And that's the ad, become a member and you get all the extra stuff and you help make it better. But thanks, Leslie, for giving the shout out. No ads. Oh, the mattress ads. I'll never do that. I would never do it on the podcast. Makes me feel sick. You might think of teaching a virtual class for Rhodes Scholar, says Laura. I don't know what that means, so I can't answer it. Quella Allen has asked this 2 times. Okay, are you familiar with the book Paris Caché, 120. No, I haven't. I've never heard of that book, but I'll check it out. What do you think about vaccines in France? Probably not the time to talk about that, I think. The story about going through the red tape of the medical system was fascinating. Just for birth? Oh man, you wait and hear some of the stories I've got for you guys. Oh my goodness. Is the Gilbert Joseph bookshop still open? I hear they're closing down, but I don't know about that. Cynthia, did you recover from Twinkies, Kraft mac and cheese, Nerds and Twizzlers? There's an Instagram follower right there. I found an American épicerie and I bought all the famous things from your country and ate it all in one go. And I did I did recover from it. But that was an eye-opener. When might the next book be out? As soon as I can do it. We haven't got much time left, so I'm going to go through quick. It'll be out as soon as I can finish it. I'm about halfway through. But there's some things I want to happen first before I finish the book. Lachlan C. asking boy or girl. I'm not even going to comment on that. There's an incredible story behind that, though, that I can't wait to share. That's not a question. That's not a question. There's hardly any questions left. Do people ever stop you on the street? Do you ever stop people on the street who look interesting? I always stop people on the street. In fact, the episode 2 episodes ago was a guy who has an artificial flower shop, silk flowers. And I just got talking to him and he was on the show and it was cool. It was really interesting. And I often find that the people who I contact to be on the show like that make for way better interviews than people who contact me or whose press team contacts me and says, hey, I want to promote this book or whatever. It doesn't feel anywhere near as natural as talking to, one of my favorite episodes, like the lady with the crocodile, one of my favorite episodes was with an elderly British man who'd been an expat in Paris for 50 years and he had nothing to promote. He didn't even have access to podcast or the internet. He just wanted to talk. And I love that kind of thing. And Caroline de Maigret, the supermodel who I stopped on the street as well. What obsessions are you following in Paris now? Says JMCD. I'm having a little break from obsessions because I think they're getting dangerous. But I guess the 7th is the answer. I think we do 2 more questions and then I'll let everyone. Does that sound right, Linda? 2 more questions?
Yeah, and then we'll want to open up everybody's microphone to applaud you. Yes.
Cool. Okay, now let's make these last 2 ones good. How's the progress on Notre Dame Cathedral? Slow. It's going to be a while before that opens up again, but I put a YouTube video up very recently doing a lot of close zoom-ins. And if you guys are YouTube people, you should check it out. In fact, if you're like an Instagram person, find me on Instagram. If you hate Instagram, find me on YouTube. If you hate podcast, find the book. You know what I mean? And last question. Which one do I choose? Are you becoming a French citizen, says Julie. Do you have to leave often? My mother is British, which means I have a European passport. But then England, the UK left the EU with Brexit, as I'm sure you all know, which means I can't be in France anymore. So I had the choice to become a French citizen or to get a temporary titre or carte de séjour or whatever it's called. And I applied for that. I'm going to go pick it up next week. But I wouldn't mind becoming a French citizen. I think it would be a really interesting road to go down. That will be the end of my answering for your questions. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning in and listening to me. If you like it, I think you'll like the podcast. And if you love it, I think you'll like the book. So
Okay.
I'll turn it back to you, Linda.
Oh, thank you, Oliver. That was wonderful. Hey, Melissa, could you allow people to unmute themselves? And we'll ask everybody to give a round of applause to Oliver.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Bravo.
Merci mille fois.
Bravo.
Merci beaucoup, Olivier.
Merci bien.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Merci.
Wow.
Merci.